the start of a new year, and a lot of us are probably thinking about how can I be healthier? What does that look like? On the podcast today, we have special guest Simon Ashley, who's actually director of Atune Health Centres. Atune Health Centres are Australia's largest integrated health centres, and Simon is an expert at helping people live healthier lives. This podcast is going to be really beneficial to so many people, and we hope you enjoy. It's the start of the year, so we have
an accountability group chat going on. We're like, at the end of every day, have we achieved? Have we stuck to our prescribed detox boundaries?
Our commitments, yeah.
And we put a little tick.
That's a great thing though, to have the accountability.
Tick in the accountability box.
But yeah, that's my question. What are you detoxing?
What are we detoxing?
Yeah.
Bad stuff.
Bad stuff.
Sugar, processed foods, snacks, junk.
Yep. Junk food, limiting some of that. It's not like a hardcore giving up of all processed things. It's not giving up all sugar. Have done those sorts of things before.
I'm trying to do the Daniel diet.
Awesome. Yep.
I've already failed a little bit. Had some chicken yesterday.
How many days are we in? How many days?
2 days. Three. This is our third day. Yeah.
Commitment right there, mate.
The problem was I went for a run in the morning and then I haven't really meal planned
that's probably where
properly
you
yet.
shouldn't. You got to be, yeah.
And so I was so hungry. Yeah. I was starving.
But hunger never killed anyone.
That's true.
And it's one of those mindsets that we have to eat, and actually you don't have to.
Don't have to.
No.
I eat way more than I need to. That's my revelation. I've realized I eat way more than actually I need.
I did hear someone say, like, if you're like at lunchtime and you're hungry and the only option is like junk, you're better off just not eating.
Drink
like
water.
You may as well just not eat. You'll be better off.
Because you'll have a high for an hour and then you'll absolutely crash in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Because it's all processed. And it actually takes so much from you when you eat junk food. Yeah. It doesn't actually give much to you. It actually takes more energy than it does to
It's like when you eat
digest
Macca's and you have like a massive quarter pounder meal and like half an hour later you're like, I'm still totally hungry.
Absolutely.
That food has done nothing.
Yeah.
It's like sin. It feels good in the moment and it feels terrible afterwards.
Horrifying. Connecting sin with Macca's. I'm sure they're going to be thrilled about that.
Oh, well.
Lost that sponsorship.
Yeah. We were hoping to get a sponsorship from Macca's, weren't we?
Right, the Dirty Bird. Give me some KFC sponsorship.
Yeah. That's
more, like it's
more whole food, isn't it?
Whole bucket. It's like a bucket for the pod. The KFC bucket for the pod. That would not align with our detox though.
No, it'd be fun though.
It'd be good.
We've got Simon Ashley with us on the pod today, which is pretty exciting. It's awesome. It's good to have you, Simon.
It's great to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
I'm sure a lot of people already know who you are, Simon. But there might be a lot of people that don't know who you are. They might have seen you around a church or at Atune. And so I thought to kick off the podcast before we get discussing things about health and longevity and wellness, which is kind of our topic for the day, I guess it'd be great to hear a little bit about, for those who don't know you, who you are, what you do, and what drives you.
Well, I suppose I'm the better half of Mel, the pastor of C3 Victory.
Is that like a little hashtag not a pastor?
Yeah, not a pastor. Well, but I do. I mean,
you lead ministry.
We're leading ministry. Yeah, so I'm on the board and I'm leading the kids ministry, which has been wonderful. I also run a business outside church.
Yeah, many hats
and a dad. Yeah,
and a dad. Yeah, which is really cool. Do you want to share? I'm keen for people to hear about, I guess, the journey of your business and with Atune. And did you want to share a little bit about that? Kind of maybe just a short version of the heart behind that, the vision that God gave you behind that, the driving force behind that, and where that's come to now?
For sure. Yeah. So I suppose it goes back to when I was at university. I got very ill when I was at uni, and
I didn't know that.
And I had a revelation back then that God has a plan for our health and well-being. He He spoke to me in hospital. At the time, I was a top tennis player sponsored by McDonald's.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so that's why I was so ill, because I had McDonald's when I was traveling all around Australia playing against Mark Philippoussis and other top tennis players.
Really?
Scud.
And
Scud missile.
and you always know there was a McDonald's on the corner or somewhere.
Absolutely.
And getting a free meal every day was pretty cool. So I was super fit but very ill. And I almost died. And then in hospital, God said, I have the ways to health and life. I want you to look to me. And then I started investigating what that looked like. And then he gave me a vision of developing a centre that brought him on the forefront of healthcare. And that really is what the heart behind Attune and who I am today. So
love that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know. Yeah, sorry.
No, you go.
I was just going to say, I don't think I knew the start of your story with the fact that you got so sick and that you almost died. I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And so God spoke to you through that.
Yep.
And gave you the vision for what is now Attune. Do you want to describe
Atune Health Centres?
Where that's at now?
So Attune is a integrated medical health facility. So basically, it is basically a combination of a whole bunch of health professionals. So you've got doctors, you've got specialists, we've got physios, nutritionalists.
Good physios.
Great physios. Yeah, fabulous physios. Great osteopaths.
Shout out.
I'm one of them. Yeah. Basically, it's got everything really. But the purpose of it is that we all work together to a degree. So we all integrate. So basically you come in the door and there's not just one person you're seeing the right people to be able to help with your condition. And particularly in our modern society, chronic illness is what's killing us. 95% of what walks through the door in the health industry now is because of chronic illness, which is really lifestyle-based illness. And that really comes back to, not just one facet, as multiple facets that are required. So that's really the heart behind what Attune is. And basically, it's going very well. There's about 120 staff all working out of the place now. And,
it's huge. It's a huge centre.
That is.
I feel like you're underselling it a little bit. I feel like it's pretty unique too, isn't it? Like it's one of a kind. Do you want to talk to its unique? Like it's not your typical, it's not a medical centre.
No.
It's very different. It's
got a health food store that is a plant-based food store which integrates into all the health, aspects, as we wanted to showcase what healthy lifestyle look like. Then you've got, Pilates and rehab and all those things all coming together. So it is actually the largest integrated centre in Australia. And we've got
global.
a 3-year. Look, we're getting some renowned. Actually, we've got a massive 3-year study happening with the Newcastle Uni at the moment around what we're doing, and we're hoping at the end of that to showcase what we already know about how effective integrated care is.
That's awesome.
Who knows where that'll take us? But yes, we're certainly paving the way for what healthcare can look like in our nation in the years to come.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
that's unreal, man. So good. I love. I think one of the biggest kind of misunderstood but significant, I guess doctrines really is the idea that we are body, soul, and spirit. And I think within church life, and even in the walk as a believer, we tend to have this heavy focus on our spiritual nature, the spiritualness of us, forgetting that we're fully integrated as a body, soul, spirit. We're 3 in 1. We've talked about this in previous episodes, this made in the image of God, 3 but 1, indistinguishable. Like you can't just, the soul is separate. We're indistinguishable but distinct. But for so long, we haven't, even recently, I'd say there's been a shift towards understanding the mind and the emotions and the soul component more than just recognizing that we have a sinful nature, which historically was the key expression of that. We've recognized, there is a distinct integration between body, soul, and spirit that we see in Scripture. And I love the emphasis that you bring into that physical space. The call of God on our lives, it's difficult to fulfill if we're breaking down all the time.
I guess when I was younger, coming back to the point of body, soul, and spirit, I remember when I was younger, I didn't have good theology around this, and not that no one was really talking about it much. Like I kind of thought, the spirit is the only important thing. Everything else is going to perish and pass away. So who cares what I eat, what happens? And I had this view about the planet. Oh, we don't need to steward the planet. It's all going to burn up in flames anyway at the end. I had terrible theology. You know what I mean? It's just like the spirit was the only thing. But I'd love to hear your thoughts around us as an integrated person about spirit, soul, and body. Obviously, Attune deals with the physical body. Although you got
psychologists
there dealing with the soul and the mind. I'd love to hear your thoughts around the theology of the integrated person, and why that's important to think that way, maybe.
Well, as Nate said, I mean, it's such a misunderstood area, but to be honest, it's actually so important because we are body, and we are made of a soul that is in many ways empowered by the Spirit, and all of those can all break down in different levels, but there's all this beautiful integration. Like, you just look at the body and the mind, and something's going on in the mind, it has a massive effect on the way the body is. But then the body has the same effect on the way that, you can relate to God and the way that your mind works, because it all is integrated and it all is functional, because that's the way God created us. And I guess it all comes back to the fact that, as humans, we are the clay, He is the potter. And He's created us beautifully. And the way that He's put us together is far beyond what we can comprehend. And so recognizing just we're separate parts is actually doing God a discredit in terms of the incredible creation that He's put together.
I love the more you explore it, like the deeper you get, the more you see the level of integration on like a micro level, like the impact of the hormones that are released when you exercise on the mind. That would just be like one, like the runner's high, right? That people know about. It's like at a chemical level of integration. It's wild.
It is.
Actually, really, I love that. The depth of it, the things we see on a cellular level that speak to.
You like the science stuff, eh?
I do. I love it. Yeah. It's my background, but it's not something that we just see on the surface. It's actually, the more deeply you look into it, the more it's confirmed, the more integrated it is. And what you were talking about earlier, like the whole, we don't need to worry about our body, we get a new one. That's exactly what Paul's addressing in Corinthians. Like the whole Corinthian mindset and the kind of the ideas that were pushed at the time was this whole idea that to be spiritual was that you would eventually separate from your body. And so treat your body like it's a piece of trash, do whatever you want to it, which led to all of the, the sexual promiscuity and just doing whatever they want with whoever they want, eating however they want, drinking whatever they want. Because in essence, it was like, well, actually spiritual, the pinnacle of spiritual pursuit is to leave this all behind anyway. And Paul's like, no, actually, that's totally not what God actually is. That's not what Jesus is talking about. That's not the understanding you should have as Christians. The understanding you should have as Christians is your body is as valuable as your spirit and your soul. There's no distinction. And actually, therefore, your body see it as like a temple of the Holy Spirit. Treat it like that. And I would say that in today's culture, we're so far from treating our body like it's the temple of the Holy Spirit in so many ways. It's like it's almost like this understanding is so far from implementation in many believers' lives, myself included. We just don't. We've been suckered by marketing campaigns and Macca's apps that offer me cheap food and
I have to delete that app because it gets me. I'm
Macca's
hungry.
Monopoly gets me.
Macca's Monopoly.
I can be good for most of the year. Macca's Monopoly comes out. I'm like, I'm eating a Big Mac for a car.
Someone told me to download the Hungry Jack's app because it's got good deals. I tell you, the deals are good. And it's dangerous. It's even more dangerous.
I can't.
Than the Macca's. So don't do it.
But we're suckered into it. And the reality is that we totally don't live like our body is a temple of the God we say we love and serve.
Why do you think it's so important? I think this is like a discussion that's coming to the forefront more, obviously.
Big time.
As for Christians, I feel like when I was younger, no one was talking about this, the importance of our physical health. What do you see being the biggest impact of not thinking about our physical health, like as for believers, you know? I do wonder if people sometimes just aren't actually even thinking about it. You know what I mean? And what's the biggest thing that you have seen when people aren't thinking or paying attention to, or?
Well, I mean, I just look at a lot of the mental health and a lot of fatigue and how sickness really takes us out of what God's called us to do.
Big time.
You know, whether it be in business, you know, the amount of sickness that impacts so much. And like we might be getting by, but we're so much sicker than we ever have been. You know, so we might be living longer because we've got these technology that actually keeps us alive, but the actual health that we live by is so much less than it ever has been because of the way that we live. And so it impacts our energy, it impacts our ability to think, to focus, to actually work, even to relate to our kids, even to spend time with God. You know, all of those things, it's all interrelated. And really it comes back to, you know, don't think about honoring God with our bodies and with our soul. You know, we think about maybe we should honor, we need to believe in him, you know, spiritually, yes, but there isn't that consideration of actually we are this whole person, and to honor God truly and to give our bodies as a living sacrifice is actually to honor him with all that we are, and that means understanding what it is that he says about this body and how to look after it.
Yeah, that's really powerful because
it's a bit of a shock to the system though. Like
I think it could be a shock
for a lot of guys to hear it kind of like that bluntly.
Because we understand honor God with our money.
Yep.
We understand like let's worship God on a Sunday, let's raise our hands, sing to God. But when it comes to our physical health, we don't put it in the same category as like I can worship God by honoring him by taking care of my body and my mind and my soul in a good way. And
I suppose a good example of that, is that I know in the business world particularly, and men particularly, you know, there is this, you know, I didn't sleep much, or, you know, I don't need sleep. Yeah. You know, there's this whole thing of, you know, how good am I? You know, I only 4 hours sleep or 5 hours sleep because I get up and do this, that. Like there's often that mindset out there, or, you know what, I can drink whatever I want to and I'm fine, or I eat whatever and it doesn't affect me. Like there's almost like that culture in our community, in our society, that actually to abuse our bodies is actually
Come back and talk
thing.
to those same people at like 45 and 50.
Oh, well, look, I have a saying our, you know, the first 40 years your body takes notes, the next 40 years it reads them back to you.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And I'll write that down. That is good.
And it's true though.
Because I mean, oh no.
Because, I mean, that's what we see. From 40 onwards, you start seeing people falling apart because they haven't really looked after themselves in that first 40 years.
That figure and your body just starts disintegrating.
It does.
There's like part of you, like I'm not 40 yet, but through your 20s and 30s, there's a part of you that feels almost like, but I'm indestructible.
Absolutely.
Like I can sleep for 5 hours and wake up and grind and have some coffee and like I'm making it happen.
So active as well.
And I'll recover. I'll have a good sleep-in weekend, and you feel like you are recovering, but you're like, no, your body's taking a hit and it's going to read those notes back to you.
Absolutely. Eventually it will. And it may not be as you say, because when you're younger, your body is able to cope, but over time, and you hear it as people go, I just can't do what I used to do. My body isn't the same. And, you know, part of that is because, you know, we have potentially, like there's reserves that we've just used up. You know, and just sleep as a prime example. I mean, it is the thing that God has established for us to rejuvenate, to restore, to allow our bodies to actually be ready to go. So it's that go, rest. And it's part of the patterning or the rhythm that he's created in this world that's so important for us to have longevity. We're talking about longevity. We can run hard and then collapse in a heap.
Yeah. We've been talking about this as we've been framing up like our detox, you know, which is loosely integrated.
Which Simon's probably like detox, like these guys that don't know what they're talking about.
Okay, we'll reframe it.
I'll talk to you about that later.
Slight changes to our wild eating habits. Like we have a snack trolley at the office, and I'm pretty sure there's been days where I've probably single-handedly consumed half the trolley. But anyway.
I've seen you do that. It's all right. We're accountability partners.
We are at the moment. And anyway, one of the things that we we talk about a lot is this ideal sort of routine, right? Like in the morning that encapsulates, physical activity, like a workout, time with God, reading our Bible. Like there's this idealistic, this is what I want my morning to look like. I want to be able to get up before this particular time. And I'm not sure God's up at that time, to be honest. But when you get up, we map it all out. And then this is literally our text conversation the other night. And we're like, actually, this all comes back to going to sleep at the right time.
Totally.
And we've been talking about this quite a few. This has been a cycle over a few years with so many other components of the best plans we make for our physical self and our spiritual, and again, we're totally integrated. But so many of our best plans, I find personally, speak for Simo, I know because we talk a lot, but they really are rooted in sleep. Mm-hmm. And sleep health and sleep patterns and good sleep discipline. And we're so bad at it. Phones, Netflix, meetings. Well, we have meetings till 10:30 at night and then wonder why I can't go to sleep until 2 a.m., just trying to wind down or.
I read to me the other day, it's like, I can't sleep and say that straight after looking at 400 2-second videos 1 inch from your face. I'm like, it's a good point.
It's a fair argument. But there's so much value in as a foundational component to health, good sleep.
Absolutely. Yes.
I'd go as far as to say it's the number one. You probably disagree with me, Simon? But I would be it's the number one.
It would be up there with one of the top ones. Absolutely, I agree.
You'd say it's one of the top ones?
Absolutely.
How much sleep do I need? Should I be getting a night, Simon?
Okay, so there's a couple of things around sleep, and I can talk about sleep for however long.
Let's talk about sleep. I reckon most people, this is a big one for people. Surely.
Well, I'm a terrible sleeper. I wish I was good. I'm just not.
Yeah. And that's partly because of habits. It's about a rhythm. It talks about, these rhythms that we need to be in. And over time, you get in bad rhythms. And
it's also what you talk about with the mind, right? Because most of what keeps me awake is up here.
Absolutely.
And so I can be in bed. We were in bed last night at a reasonable time. We're doing our little accountability tick to each other in bed. But then we listen to this. We listen to a Lectio thing, which is an evening, just the devotion, Rach and I, and then lights are out. Rach is asleep. She's gone. I will just be my eyes are wide open. Can't sleep.
All right, Nate needs your help, Simon. What?
So I wish I was good at sleep. Rach is fantastic. She'd be like, I'm out.
Yeah. Yep. And some people do. They do struggle, and their mind is active, and part of that is learning to quieten your spirit and your mind down before you go to bed. And there's lots of different things. And we talk about sleep hygiene is a big thing that we're talking about these days in the medical world.
Well, what are some
sleep hygiene things?
Top 5 tips.
Yeah. Top 5 tips around sleep.
Yep.
Just say I'd say I'm not very good. I go to bed on average. I'm probably falling asleep at around 11 o'clock.
Yep.
Waking up at 5:30.
Yep.
Wake up at 5:30. After 11 o'clock, can't do it.
Yeah, that's pretty. That's cutting it.
That's trimming the edges,
man.
That
is totally.
So
So you probably need, on average, most people should have between, let's say 7 and 8 is probably is a good. If you can get more, but it's also getting sleep before 12 o'clock. It's almost getting double sleep.
Is that true? Is that real?
That is absolutely true. So
I have heard that. The hours before 12 matter.
If you get to bed, it's to do with your circadian rhythms and the way your body, and there's a whole science behind it, which we're going to go into now. But look, if you get to bed at 10, go to sleep at 10, you're getting 4 hours sleep, not 2 hours sleep in that period because of
double value.
Yes, double value. And so getting to bed earlier actually does have incredible value.
Helps you get up earlier, right?
And then getting up earlier is absolutely, I'm an early riser and I love it. And you get more out of the day when you get up early and you clear up.
Mornings.
So that's sort of where you want to be at.
About 7 to 8 hours sleep.
7 to 8 hours to sleep.
Time before 12. Double your money.
Double your money.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
So still go for the 8 hours sleep because then you get the double and then you got that better restoration.
Yeah, it's 12 hours.
That's right.
I haven't had 12 hours since I was a teenager.
Yeah.
Okay, so what else is something that's key with sleep?
So 3 hours before bed, you should not have a coffee or anything
3 hours
sugary like soda waters and other things.
So I shouldn't eat a packet of lollies.
No.
15 minutes before I go to bed.
Not at all.
What happens?
I regularly do
because
that.
what happens, that heightens your, like this energy.
Oh, I can tell. I can tell. I feel it in my body. I can't.
Absolutely.
I cannot sleep. I'm like, the sugar is going wild
Because
tonight.
what you're doing is tell your body is, this is, it's a rhythm. It's dinner time. So it's 6 o'clock. It's not actually sleep time.
It's chocolate and cup of tea time.
That's right.
So that messes your circadian rhythm, does it?
That messes with your circadian. Like, it's all to do with these rhythms. And so what happens is you're eating and then you're spiking your sugar and your body is going, we've got to do something, when you're trying to go the other way. So food.
Is there better food to eat, or should no food?
I would suggest you don't eat, because it's better not to.
I'm pretty much eating the worst thing, like a packet of lollies.
Totally.
What about,
and coffee and alcohol, all of that, at least 3 hours before you go to sleep.
So a gin and tonic and a packet of lollies, half an hour before.
That's really going to not be great for you, no.
You're talking about it. You're talking about a friend of a friend, right?
Yeah.
I can understand coffee, but a lot of people be like, alcohol helps calm me down.
That's what they would think, absolutely.
I can fall alcohol, not much. Someone might say just a little bit of alcohol helps me fall asleep. Isn't that good?
And look, and there is, it can be for some people, but if you're needing that, what you're doing is you're requiring something to help you get to sleep. Whereas if you can naturally produce it, and it's the same, that's with coffee in the morning. If you need a coffee to get you up and going,
100%.
You're not creating that naturally in yourself, you've got a problem, because then you create an unnatural spike and then slump. And that creates
that problem.
And that creates this problem for you throughout the whole day. And so what you're doing is you're setting yourself up for failure, because
I'm setting myself up for more coffee.
That's right. You're setting yourself up for more coffee.
So
that's one big thing when it comes to sleep. Parent your phone, as they talk about. So what that means is putting your phone to bed and away from your room well before you go to sleep, because it's a dopamine hit.
It is.
It's crazy. It just lifts you, the blue light and all that sort of stuff. So you need to put that away. And so your bedroom, and this is the thing, what your mind associates with bed. If you're on the computer in bed, you think it's work time in bed, and you're creating a wrong habit. So what they say is for sleep, sleep is for sleep and for sex. Your bedroom, is for sleep and for sex, and that's it. Nothing else.
Sounds pretty good.
You can do some reading with a book. That'll settle you. That's okay. But other than that, that's what your bedroom's for.
So reading's okay?
Reading is okay.
I've got to share this. I recently, as a friend of mine, and this is...
it's another friend of a friend.
Yeah.
It's someone we all know, and this will test if they don't listen to the podcast. But I recently learned, so they're a big reader, and I just think this is awesome.
Hang on. Are they a big reader, or are they a big audiobook listener?
No, they're a big reader.
Because I would like to propose that they are two very different things.
Yeah, they are.
They have a Kindle, and I didn't know this was a thing, but they've got an arm that goes off their bed, like bed head, that holds the Kindle. So they can lay down horizontal.
Oh, wow. That's wild.
And
that's a commitment to reading.
They love reading, right? Not only that, so they're comfortable. They don't have to hold the Kindle.
So you don't get because I get numb fingers when I'm lying reading a book.
Yes. And they've got a remote clicker to turn the page.
Oh my goodness.
That is next level.
So they're full horizontal, looking at the book, full covered up blankets with the clicker, turning the pages, just reading away.
I need to know who this is.
No, because it's a screen.
I need to know who this is.
So a Kindle.
A Kindle's better, but it's still...
It's light.
It's light. It's because what happens is the light, and that's the thing, and that's the next point would be to have a really dark room.
Amen.
Okay. Because, again, that helps with circadian rhythm. So the light makes your body think it's day. That's why when you're looking at your phone, it thinks it's daytime, or it thinks it's, so it's not getting into the routine of, actually it's night, I need to go.
You're confusing your body.
You're confusing your body. And people think, but it really does. It's these subconscious things that we do that actually really have a massive impact in the way that we can actually fall asleep.
So how do you put your phone to bed? What do you do?
Well...
What's your rhythm? I'm keen to hear your little rhythm or routine.
I actually put it beside my bed at this stage because it's the only alarm that really works for me. But I'll put it face down.
Yep.
So I don't look at it.
And you just don't use it from
don't use it. Yep.
A certain time period.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So once you go to bed, that's it. Just leave it up.
See I think you're a pretty disciplined person. So
sometimes there are those times where buzzes you want to check, and I'm not great at it either. Like I still do those things, and you know what? It calls you, the phone.
It does.
So it's one of those things that it's really hard when it buzzes. You want to know what's happening, and so I've considered the option of it's just hard because I've got alarms and other things, and there's lots of factors. But where you can, yes, put it beside your bed, or if you cannot have it in your room at all, that is the ideal, particularly if you have a problem sleeping. I don't ever have a problem sleeping.
Okay. So sleep is a heavy hitter to our health.
It's a massive heavy hitter. Absolutely.
Have you seen people like abuse that in their life and it come back to bite them?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah. So many people.
And you're saying it's not just a physical thing. It's like this affects your
it affects your brain,
emotions,
so many people,
mental health.
Absolutely. When you have poor sleep, your mental health, you don't think clearly.
I can physically 100% confirm those things.
Yep. Absolutely. And physically, you get lots of ailments. You get a lot of people
get run down.
Yep, run down. A lot of people have muscle problems and aches and pains and other things due to the fact they don't get good sleep, good restoration. Like, a lot of athletes, they know that they got to sleep to restore for the, we're the same. We have massive days, and if we don't actually sleep, we're not getting that restorative.
How good is magnesium?
Magnesium's very good for you.
Oh, I'm on the magnesium train. Love it. Have my magnesium in my 500 mils of water an hour before bed, which tends to be more like a skull at 10 minutes before bed. So it doesn't help because I'm up to go to the toilet in the middle of the night.
That's right.
So what I'm hearing, as per previous conversation, is gin and tonic, packet of Ollies, and magnesium.
The
magnesium helps cancel out the others to get you good sleep.
Not about cancelling out. That's like saying I'll pray over McDonald's and it'll be healthy for me. It doesn't work like that.
Oh, that's a good idea.
It can multiply though. It's like a fillet of fish.
I'd like to kind of
loaves and the fish.
On the topic of mental health, like what I know you're passionate about this. Obviously, in culture, there's a massive rise in mental health issues. Men are suffering from a lot of mental health issues: anxiety, stress, sleeplessness, depression. How does health? Obviously, we talked about sleep, but how does health in general? What are some key things that are contributors to, like, I guess, devolving our mental health state? You know what I mean? It does.
Oh, there's so much, and you could talk about the emotional side of things, which you could, but in terms, if you want to talk about physical and what has an impact on mental health, hydration, lack of sleep, and the foods we eat, those three things plus lack of exercise, you put those four things, and the thing is that it's a combination of all of them. One or two might be all right, other two not so good, but there's often a combination of all of those things that have a significant impact on the way, you are, and it may not fix all the problems, but gee, it helps a lot. It's like this background noise that really can assist or detract. For example, I'll just use hydration. That's one of my big things. Hydration is massive. I think that 80% of the community are chronically dehydrated because we drink everything but water.
So part of our little thing at the moment, it's 2 litres of water a day.
Come on, that's what I like to hear.
I wanted to do 3.
Yeah, no, 3's even better.
But we downgraded to 2.
Well, I may have said there's no way I can do 3 litres. I won't even remain in any meeting during the day. Because the issue is I drink coffee. We won't go there. Even though I know you have a cafe, it doesn't serve caffeine, which is it even a cafe? But
shots fired.
Someone said that you can calculate the amount of water based on your weight.
Yes.
Is there an accurate, like, if someone's listening and watching and they're like, oh, what is my benchmark? Like, what should I be aiming at? And is there a way that I can work that out to have a goal of how much water? Because water is the single most critical component to every chemical reaction in our body.
Absolutely, it is. Yes.
It's everything. I'd say sleep and then water would be my. I'm not good at either, but I know they're top 2. How do we know how much?
Yep. So I just want to say that you're exactly right. Every single chemical reaction in your body requires water as a catalyst.
Yep.
And so just to give you an understanding of the importance of water, is that your body is pretty smart. Okay, and it's got a reserve of water.
I like to think so.
Absolutely. God created it that way. It knows what it needs. So what will happen is if you chronically don't get enough water, day by day, your body starts to prioritize.
Starts to retain it.
Yes, where water goes. So your heart, your lungs, your brain, they get the water they need because they're vital to your survival. Okay, so you always get that. Whereas your digestive system, your skin, your brain at times, your muscles, your joints, they all miss out. And so they're the things that we're starting to shrivel up on in our communities. And so what tends to happen is that we just get this ongoing chronic dehydrated state that we live in, and our bodies just slowly ebb away. And so when it comes to mental health, that's such a, because for clarity, for synapsing movement of all the amazing parts in your brain, if you don't have the fluid that you need, you just don't think clearly. You just, it actually says that a 2% decrease in water, your attention, your ability to work, your cognitive ability decreases by some 25 to 50%.
That's wild.
Wow.
So that's almost like, and I have to check the stats. I probably should be careful what I say.
Watch out, the fact checkers will be out there.
That's right, because but there is some level where it actually is like having had you 0.05. You're worse off when you're dehydrated than you were if you had alcohol.
Wow.
When it comes to driving, particularly people at work, driving big machinery and that type of thing, there is actually a risk profile for people who are chronically dehydrated.
It's the same with sleep as well, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Like
fatigue, yeah.
At uni, we used to have we'd pull all-nighters to get stuff done, and literally just didn't go to sleep.
I would eat instant coffee out of a tin with a spoon.
Oh,
but I remember I could bounce back from that.
You can when you're younger, though.
Not bounce back. That would absolutely destroy me.
And
for
my
like a month.
body's reading all of my notes right now.
and the other, that's right, it does. But the other point to add to that is that things like soda water, things like alcohol and caffeine, they actually take fluid rather than give it to you.
Soda water.
That's okay. They're right.
It's okay.
Yeah, no. So soda water as in like soft drinks. Not sparkling water.
Yeah,
sparkling water is better. The carbonated is all right.
Yeah,
but
this is rocking a 4.5 star over
here. There you go. So, but just because it says it on the can doesn't mean that exactly what it is in terms of health. I can promise you there's so much that they say is healthy, but actually is just there because now we're starting to be more conscious.
Yeah.
So they want for you to buy their product, they'll put, this is star rated or heart rate, but doesn't mean that it is.
So, sorry.
So when it comes to all that, what we often drink actually dehydrates us more than actually hydrates us.
Totally. Like coffee, alcohol,
all those
diuretics.
things. And so, we're thirsty, so we drink that stuff. It actually makes us even more dehydrated, which then has more of an impact.
So how much?
At least 2 litres. So what I would say in clinic is you need to eat 2 litres if you're not active. More if you are active. Right. So it's the baseline is 2 litres.
My Garmin app does like an automatic calculation for me.
Well, and that's okay. So I would say if you're very active in a day, you want to drink 3 litres because of just the activity that you had.
More water.
But one of the ways I help is that, to get water in, if you can drink a litre of water, which seems a lot, before breakfast because you're often the hungriest first thing.
Yeah.
A litre before breakfast.
I have an
espresso before breakfast.
I've started trying to do this. I've started trying to do this with apple cider vinegar.
Yep.
I do the apple cider vinegar. I love it.
And that's okay. Whatever helps. Sometimes people find that the chlorine in the water, so if you can remove the chlorine, people can drink the water better.
You're a big proponent of the Zazen water
I am.
filter.
Yeah. Absolutely. Or
we're
any filter.
We're not sponsored, by the way.
No, absolutely. Or any filtration system that actually takes out some of the poisons as well as the heavy metal and other things. Because I understand why we've got the chlorine in our water, because it's killing a lot of the bacteria and things that potentially could cause, community-wide spread of disease. Yeah. However, you think about it, it's still killing the natural bacteria in your gut on an ongoing basis. And I have found that kids will drink a lot more water when there is no chlorine and there's no fluoride in the water because it doesn't quite have the same metallic taste, it's a lot softer. Anyway, that's a whole other thing.
I have definitely found that just for me personally, there's 3 ways that help me drink more water. So I used to drink not very much water. I'm up to now I get close to 2 litres a day. It's taken me a long time. I do my drink bottle size has been a big impact.
Just get the big Stanley Cup. The
Stanley harness. I don't go that size, but
get the harness.
There's a psychological nature to it, right? Like I find a 1 litre drink bottle and I'm like, well, if I drink this twice, so I'm only refilling it once during the day because it's the whole getting from the desk or the office to refill it. Like if you have a small drink bottle, I just don't refill it enough. Once it's full, I find I can sip it and it's all right. This may not be super healthy, but my first drink bottle has a Barocca tablet in it, like a multivitamin, dissolvable, gives the water a little bit of flavour, so I find I drink it easier.
Yep.
Couple of capfuls of apple cider vinegar in the water. just, I don't know, something about it. Actually, I love the flavor.
Yeah, I do too.
And it alkalizes my system.
Is that a thing? That's real?
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
Okay.
That does alkalize your system. I understand that.
And thirdly is ice. Like I hate just water out of the tap.
Yep.
So I've had to find an iced water I find I drink easily.
Well, the one thing about that is that your body does have to then heat it up, which does take a little bit from you. But look, I remember if it gets more water,
survival training. Don't eat snow.
No, that's right. So, but in saying that, look, if it helps you get it in, then whatever you can do to do that. And once you get it, what you'll find is that once you get into the habit of doing it, your body gets used to it. But that's why I recommend doing a litre before breakfast, and you will get in the habit of it because it means that you can run to the toilet in the morning and you're not going to be impacted as much at the end of the day, particularly when it comes to sleep.
I am. I just. Because I have my espresso and then I drink my first drink bottle, I cannot make it through like a 1 hour meeting.
Yes.
Game over. Game over.
Yep. So sleep, water, 2 very big components. And my grandpa used to hate drinking water, but he'd say he drinks a schooner, which is brown water. That's
brown water.
Brown water.
Not dehydrates you. Other drinks dehydrate you.
Totally.
We've talked a lot about a lot of different things, which I think are really lots of big healthy things, great things, big steps that people can take. But let's just kind of try and bring it all back. Like say, what are some key, let's just say 3 simple things. I mean, better sleep. We've already talked about better sleep.
More water.
Where can someone start? I guess sometimes this can overwhelm people. There's so much information out there. There's so many diets, there's so many drinks, there's so many supplements, and we pay for all these things because stuff's screaming at us, this is healthy. But what would you say, where can someone just start to move towards a healthier life?
That is a great question. And I would say it's not starting anywhere, it's understanding that God has created us mind, body, and spirit. And if we get the concept or the revelation that He is interested in how our physical health is, our mental health, and our spiritual health as a whole, and He's created us, and He's created for the way for us to be in health, if we get that bigger picture, then what you can do, because it's true. And so when I was at uni, I studied the whole Bible on health, and I compared to what the Bible said, and I looked at the Greek and Hebrew and everything, compared to what I was hearing with the science world, and I'm comparing the two. And what I realized is that science is only catching up to what God has already set in place.
Yeah.
He's already got the plan. He's already got it there.
I reckon there's a book in that, man. You got to write a book.
There totally is. Yes,
come on.
There is. And honestly, it blows your mind. Yeah. But what we tend to do is we tend to look for the latest fad or the latest this or that. And so what we're doing is we're fitting God into maybe what science is telling us rather than fitting science into what God has established.
Okay.
And so for me, drawing a line in the sand, I talk about the line in the sand, is that if it's created for us and it's going to be better for us. And so the further we stray from what God has created,
let's not talk about bacon,
the worse it's going to be for our health. Okay. Does that make sense?
So you're saying rather than starting somewhere because we want this quick fix, we like
absolutely.
I hear people. My sister's actually a dietitian.
Yes,
and
I had a great chat to her the other week.
Did you? Yeah. Well, and she tries to help people on the journey.
Yes,
but people are like, well, just tell me what to eat. Just give me the meal plan. And she's like, well, that's
totally.
That's quick. Me. That's not how you're going to change your life. She's trying to help you shift patterns and habits slowly. But what you're saying is instead of trying to change.
It's the mindset.
Start to think about reframe.
It's got to come from that, and that's what happened to me. It was a whole life transformation. I'm like, wow, my life is killing me. I've got to step back and go, hang on, recognize that to honor God with my body, I need to know what He tells me about this body. To not just live whatever and do whatever the world tells me, but to actually do that is to come back to the place of, you know what, His ways are higher than my ways. His thoughts, my thoughts. What is it that He said about these things? Yeah. And then maybe that will start me on a journey of investigation, of potentially transformation, because there's a why, not just I'm doing this for this reason. That makes sense?
Yes.
And so for me, that's the line. If you can go, well, what has God created for this area? Because he'll have something to say about all areas, like whether it's sleep, whether it's food, whether it's diet, whether it's exercise, like all of that. Now, it's not a textbook for health in the Bible, but God created us. He didn't plonk us on this world and say, fend for yourself. And it'll blow your mind when you see what he's placed in his word, which science now backs up.
I think,
wow.
Like that's great wisdom in not starting with something practical, but getting the revelation.
That's great.
Something that I think many people struggle with then down the line or whatever is the idea of discipline, self-discipline. But I've probably had a fresh revelation talking to my kids, the verses that talk about self-discipline and what have you, and particularly the verse in Timothy, which we often use in relation to, say, fear. Oh, God's not giving you a spirit of fear. But it says God's not giving you a spirit of fear, but of love, power, and self-discipline.
Yes.
And so in all sorts of areas of my life, I've been reminding myself, actually, God's given me a spirit of self-discipline.
Yeah.
Because I often hear from people, I don't have the self-discipline.
Well, you do. You got the spirit.
Actually, you might not in your physical, like that part of you that's untrained, but actually you have a spirit of self-discipline. God's given you a spirit that is absolutely oriented in that direction.
Absolutely.
And so there is a fuel in you in terms of the spirit in you to help you be disciplined, to start to take steps in this. So I've actually found it really helpful to remind myself of that. When I don't feel like I've got the discipline.
It's really good.
Actually, you know what? God's not given me a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and God's given me self-discipline. I have this.
This is a really good distinction, I think, because we started with, we are not separated out in a body, a mind, soul, and spirit. But when it comes to our health, we don't really involve into it. We don't bring the spirit into it.
We don't bring the body into the spirit. We don't bring the spirit to the body.
That's right.
We don't ask God what's best for my body, and
unless we're like praying for healing. It's kind of the only time we do it. Is we think, well,
there's probably a whole nother discussion.
Pray for a miraculous healing. It's the only time we think the spirit interacts with the body.
Yeah, where the healing might be in changing some habits.
So just on that, so there's a whole thing that God showed me was that there's two actual parts to healing or health.
Yeah.
There is He is Jehovah Jireh, our provider. So he's provided everything for us, but he's also Jehovah Rapha, her God who heals. So there's those two components. So you can get your healing, absolutely, but there's also that element of, well, he actually provided everything for us to be in health. And there's this whole element of, when we get the fact that there's these two parts of God, he will heal you miraculously, but he'll also say, to honor me, there's also this plan that I have, maybe follow that more.
Totally.
It's kind of like that. What's that saying that's, you can give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day, or you can teach a man a fish and he'll eat for a lifetime. Like God wants to teach us how to not just like trash our bodies and then have to come for like healing every 2 weeks, miraculous healing. Like that verse, I think we talked about at the start, 1 Corinthians 6:19-20 says, do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit? Like that's crazy to think about, hey, like to unpack that, temples of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have received from God. You are not your own. You are bought at a price, therefore honor God with your bodies.
Yeah, wild.
It's really powerful.
It's a confronting verse.
It is.
But I think, so it's where someone can start is really asking God to help change them, like engaging with the Spirit of God.
Yep.
And saying, God, I need help. Can you help me in this area? Rather than a meal plan. God, help me. I need your help. I'm lacking in discipline. I need your discipline. I'm lacking in wisdom. I need you to help guide me into wisdom for my health and my body and my life. I think that's really powerful. I didn't expect you to actually say that. I thought you were going to say like.
And look, I mean, I could give you all sorts of different
tips and stuff. Yeah.
But I mean, I guess it comes back for me, Daniel. I love Daniel is the fact that as men, it's actually God's calling us to, to stand up in all areas, and to discipline ourselves, to resolve, to, decide, what, I'm going to live this way. That's what he's calling us to do. And I think that's something that men sometimes don't realize, just the fact that as men, we are leaders in our household, in our churches. We need to be the ones that are not necessarily just talking about it, but actually leading the way in every aspect of life. So
that's really good. I think that this draws the conclusion to the conversation in a really good spot. But to kind of finish off, I want to hear some. I'll rapid fire if you can, like top 10 hot tips. Oh. I know we just said like that's not what we're meant to be doing.
Yep.
But I'm sure like we've had some water, we've had some sleep. What are some other big movers in our health, the top 10 rapid fire hot tips that you might have for people.
Yep. Alive versus dead, because alive produces life, death produces death. So when you think about that when it comes to food, that speaks a lot about what it is that we eat and shouldn't eat, as a very brief summary. Exercise, we were created to be active 6 days out of 7.
We're made to be
We're made to be very active. And so therefore, we're so sedentary in our lifestyle. So being more active and having that rhythm of activity is such a good thing. And look, you can look at the science behind all the benefits to exercise, but in a nutshell, that's the way God created us. 6 days to the sweat of your brow, you will, 7 day you rest.
Made to move.
Stand-up desks don't really count, do they?
Oh, stand-up desks are great. They're really good for your posture and because that's such a bad posture sitting down all day. It really is. What other? Drink lots of water. Cut out all the stuff that basically isn't water. To be honest, that's a powerful thing if you can do that. Sleep 8 hours more sleep that you get during the day. Before 12 o'clock is certainly really powerful. What other tips can I give you? Vision. Probably for me, one of the biggest things that we need to have is a vision for our lives in every way. So knowing who we're called to be and knowing what we can say yes to and what we can say no to helps just identify what our world looks like. And so we can be so distracted, we can be so overwhelmed with so many choices. If we have a vision for our life, that's drives us forward and helps us to know what we should and shouldn't do. And that comes to your health. Having a vision for your health, having a vision for your family, even if it's just, a couple of cents, knowing what it is that we want to achieve is really, really important. That's such a godly thing.
Rather than just being reactionary.
Rather than being reactionary with life.
You get sick and you got to react to it.
Absolutely.
It's have a vision.
Having a vision for all those aspects. And, talking about health and well-being, having a vision for, okay, maybe I'm really falling down in this area. Having a vision, 6 months' time, not just, and let's follow it through. Having that accountability that you boys have had, I think that's brilliant.
Like having people in to help you with along the journey
for men is so important. We need to have people around us who are spurring us on, who are relating to, and that's probably another big factor because loneliness is another big epidemic in our society right now.
Yeah, wow.
And particularly men, we get very lonely. We get very much doing our thing. We isolate ourselves. We need to build that community around ourselves. And that sometimes we have to create that for ourselves and for our well-being. That's really important. And to do that journey of whatever it is, where like you guys, I love it. You're doing your detox together. It keeps you accountable.
You called it a detox.
Yep.
It's validated.
It is totally. I'm all for detoxes. And look, I could say that probably another massive thing is fasting and detoxing. I think it's massive. We don't give our bodies a rest anymore. And it's very biblical. I mean, I could go through all the scriptures that talks about your healing will come when you fast.
Do you say you're fasting like every Wednesday?
You see, that's a rhythm that's brilliant. Like
I started it towards the end of last year, and it's becoming a rhythm.
Yep.
It takes time for a new thing to become a rhythm. So dinner Wednesday night is the last meal until dinner Thursday night.
Perfect. Yep. That actually, if you look at the way Jesus lived, that's how he lived.
I still drink coffee.
Well, we'll have to have a talk about that one, Nate.
Any other tips?
Look, I think that's, there's a lot there to digest and you can dig deep into all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Probably the only other thing I'd say is, as I said about created, if it's created and understanding what that means, massive difference in your life, I believe.
Yeah.
When it comes to what you eat, how you live, how you do all sorts of things. There is something very powerful about that revelation that I think will transform the way someone will live.
I think something I'd like to encourage people to do, and I think guys particularly are not good at this. They don't go see health professionals. So I use Attune for, heaps of stuff, all the things, and GP, osteo, physio with running and stuff over the years, and it is really integrated. It's fantastic. But I know guys that get hurt. And they're like, I won't sort that out. Yeah, it'll buff out or it'll disappear. And I've had some health things in the last little while and just knowing that I don't feel the way I'm meant to feel, going and talking to someone and going on the journey to figure those things out can be a really powerful thing instead of just like
I think
grinding it out, just dealing with stuff.
When you're younger, it'll buff out. Kind of is true. Like most of the time when you're younger, you get injury or something, a couple of days, that's all right. But certainly as you get older,
but there's like a mentality with like maybe like my grandparents' generation, maybe I don't know, like it's like I don't need a doctor, like I don't need to talk to someone. Where
that whole like going to see someone is a weakness.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Where maybe like your mental, emotional, spiritual state could really be benefited from figuring out why you're in pain.
I think sometimes there's a fear in that as well, like the fear that really bad stuff will be uncovered.
Yeah, maybe
like in your health or in your mental health. So if we just close that door and we don't, it's not as bad as it seems. It's nothing. We don't want to engage because there's a bit of fear, or identity. I don't want to be weak. Needing a doctor is weak. Needing a mental health professional is weak. All of those things I think circulate around in the minds of men, and we're quite happy to go and see a gym instructor to learn how to like
lift heavy stuff
and get buff. But
like me,
the others we're not so inclined to go towards.
That's true. This is great. We've just spoke for about now close to an hour. I feel like we just touched the surface of some things, but I think there's some great insights there for, we're not just talking to men, but I guess we're all men. So men. We're kind of,
we are.
But I think, it's an area that as men we can all get better at, and I think this has really been helpful. And I love that you said let's start with mindset instead of tips and tricks, even though we just had lots of good tips and tricks. But I just want to thank you. We might get you on a future podcast to delve deeper into some of these topics. I think, which would be really cool. We might delve into sleep.
We got to touch the coffee.
Yes.
Yeah, I was about to open up a whole nother conversation about coffee, but I'm like, we don't have time for that right now. So
coffee and bacon.
But I just want to thank you.
Pleasure. It's been awesome.
Thank you for coming on and just hanging out and sharing and chatting with us. And hopefully we'll get you on some future ones.
Sounds great.
Appreciate your time.